I never thought a drone would be the thing that tore my life apart. My name's Robert. I'm 38 years old, and I run a small drone shop in a quiet town you've probably never heard of. It's not flashy work, but it pays the bills and then some. I've always been a hands-on guy, mechanical, practical, not much for drama. I build things, fix things, and I mind my business. That's just how I'm wired. My wife, Camilla, is, or was, a different kind of person. She's 30, beautiful in that way that makes people stop and look. Long, shiny hair, big eyes, a smile that could probably sell dreams if she wanted to. When we first got together, everyone told me I hit the jackpot. Some said it to my face. Some said it behind my back. I didn't care. I loved her. I worked hard, stayed loyal, gave her what I could. She worked at an ice cream stand in the children's park across town. Honestly, it was beneath her, and I think she knew it. I never said that out loud, though. I never judged her for it. I figured work was work. As long as she was happy, I was happy. We'd been married for 3 years, and for most of that, I thought we were good. Not perfect, sure, but who is? Lately, things had felt different. Camilla got quiet, distant. She picked fights over stupid stuff, me leaving dishes in the sink, forgetting to close the bathroom cabinet, things that never used to bother her. She stopped laughing at my dumb jokes, and she started going to bed early with excuses like headaches or just being exhausted from standing all day. I chalked it up to stress. Work can wear a person down. I told myself I'd give her space, not push. That's what a good husband does, right? Then came that Thursday. It was a bright, breezy afternoon. I was out at the edge of town field testing a new long-range drone we'd just gotten in. A beautiful piece of gear, quiet, steady, with high-res zoom and great battery life. I was proud of that one. I'd put in weeks of tuning and tweaking. Out of habit more than anything, I flew it toward the park. I didn't think much of it. I'd flown over there plenty of times before, usually just to test tracking features or check crowd patterns. It was never personal. Until it was. As I got closer to the edge of the park, my screen showed the usual stuff. Kids running, parents chatting, a few teenagers loitering by the benches. Then I spotted her. Camilla. She was at her stand, but she wasn't alone. There was a guy standing close, too close. Tall, maybe mid-20s, with one of those lazy grins that says he knows exactly what he's doing. She was smiling, laughing. He reached out and took her hand. Just like that. Like they were in their own little world. I froze. I almost dropped the controller. I zoomed in. He brushed her cheek. She leaned in. Their body language told me everything I didn't want to know. She didn't see the drone. She was too caught up in whatever moment they were having. From where I was standing, a half-mile away in the tall grass, I watched my wife look at another man the way she used to look at me. I don't know how long I stood there. 5 minutes? 10. Time kind of dissolved. The buzzing from the drone felt distant, like it was someone else's machine. I finally brought it back and packed it up with shaking hands. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I didn't even cry. That night, she came home around 8. Said she'd had to stay late and clean the freezer. Said it like it was no big deal. I just nodded. She kissed my cheek and went to take a shower. I sat on the couch and stared at the wall. My head was spinning, but my face was calm. I didn't confront her. I didn't blow up. I'm not that kind of man. Instead, I started putting things together in my mind. The coldness, the sudden mood shifts, the random errands. All the little puzzle pieces I'd been ignoring for months suddenly clicked into place. This wasn't new. I had just been blind. But I wasn't going to stay blind. Not anymore. That night, while she slept beside me like nothing had happened, I stared at the ceiling for hours. My chest felt like it was full of bricks. But my mind, it was sharper than it had been in a long time. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet. But I knew one thing for damn sure. I had a plan. I couldn't just go in guns blazing with an accusation. I didn't have proof anyone else could look at and believe. I only had one shaky drone video, and it wasn't enough. If I confronted her too early, she'd lie. Camilla was good at lying. I needed more than just a moment. I needed a pattern. A story. Something that would speak for itself. There's a young guy who works part-time at my shop. Josh. He's 24, keeps to himself, doesn't ask too many questions. Sharp, but not nosy. The kind of guy who listens more than he talks. I've known him a couple years. Quietly loyal. Reliable. That kind of loyalty is hard to find these days. One morning, before we opened the shop, I sat him down in the back office and told him the truth. Not every detail, just what he needed to know. That my wife might be stepping out on me. that I saw something strange at the park, and I needed help confirming it. I expected hesitation, maybe a few awkward questions. But Josh just nodded and said, "What do you want me to do?" So I laid it out. I gave him a thermos, told him to fill it with iced tea or whatever, and sit in the park like he was on his day off. Casual, relaxed. Find a bench, bring some headphones, keep your head down, but keep your phone camera ready. I showed him a picture of Camilla and told him exactly where her stand was, how her shifts worked, what time the park usually got crowded. I asked him to film anything unusual, especially if the same guy came around more than once. He didn't have to get fancy with the angles, just enough to show me what was happening. He agreed. No questions asked. Told me he'd go the next morning. That whole day at work, I tried to act normal, but inside I was on edge. Every time the bell above the shop door rang, I jumped. Every buzz from my phone sent a jolt through my chest. At 4:12 p.m., Josh texted me 2 words, "He showed." Later that evening, we met in the back lot behind the shop. He handed me his phone. There she was, plain as day. Camilla, standing behind the counter in her little striped apron, laughing with the same guy I'd seen through the drone lens. She tossed her hair, leaned forward across the counter like she was telling him a secret. He smiled like he'd heard it all before. Over the next 2 weeks, Josh kept going back. Sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon. He switched benches to avoid suspicion. Changed his outfit here and there. Always played it cool. And the guy kept coming. Same time, almost every day. Tea wasn't just small talk, either. Josh got footage of him holding her hand across the counter. Once, she touched his forearm and kept it there a little too long. Another time, they leaned their heads together behind the stand, like they were whispering. Every now and then, they'd leave the stand at the same time, heading toward the woodsier side of the park. She'd come back later, alone, wiping her hands on a napkin. I watched every clip at night after Camilla went to bed. I turned off the sound, took notes, labeled each file by date and time, built folders, backups, even cloud storage. I wasn't going to lose a single second of this. During this time, things at home got worse. Camilla had this permanent edge in her voice, like I was some kind of burden just for being around. She stopped asking me how my day was. Barely looked up from her phone anymore. I could feel the way she looked at me changing, like I was the old coat she kept around out of obligation. One night, while we were doing dishes together, I leaned in to kiss her neck like I used to. She pulled away, said she was tired. I told her she smelled different, like she changed perfumes or something. She snapped, "Maybe you're imagining things." That one hit hard, because I had imagined things for too long. I'd made excuses, given her the benefit of the doubt, even when my gut told me something was off. But now, I wasn't imagining anything. I had footage, patterns, a story forming in pieces. And Camilla, whether she knew it or not, was telling it to me with every little lie that slipped out of her mouth. She still came home every night, tossed her shoes by the door, scrolled her phone on the couch like nothing was wrong. And maybe for her, nothing was wrong. Maybe in her mind, she'd already started living another life. I wasn't going to confront her with questions. I was going to bury her with answers. It was a Saturday morning in late June when Camilla told me she was spending the day at Madison's place. Madison was her oldest friend from back in school, one of those women who always smelled like dry shampoo and drama. They hadn't hung out much lately, so the timing felt sudden. Still, I smiled like the fool I had learned to be. She was brushing her hair in the mirror when she casually mentioned it over her shoulder. "We're all getting together. Girls' Day? Might run late." I nodded, played it cool. "Sounds fun," I said, even managed a chuckle. Then I kissed her on the forehead, told her to have fun, and watched her leave in a sundress and oversized sunglasses like nothing in the world was weighing her down. 15 minutes later, I grabbed my truck keys, a camera, and a fully charged phone. I wasn't guessing anymore. I knew what I was doing. My heart wasn't pounding. It was steady, focused, quiet. The way it gets when you stop being surprised by disappointment. I stayed 2 cars behind her most of the way. She took the usual route out of our neighborhood, crossed over the main intersection, but then instead of turning left toward Madison's house on Cherry Hill Drive, she pulled into a gas station just off the highway. That's when I knew this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't some misunderstanding. This was deliberate. She parked in the corner near the dumpster, the spot no one uses unless they're waiting for something or someone. I pulled into the lot of a strip mall across the road and watched from behind a tinted window. 10 minutes passed. Then a blue Nissan pulled in from the side street, and parked next to her. The guy from the park. Same smug grin, same arrogant posture. I recognized him immediately. He didn't even look around. He just leaned across, said something through her window, and she laughed. Loud enough that I could hear it through the crack in my window, even from that distance. She got out, grabbed her purse, and slid into his car like it was the most natural thing in the world. No hesitation. No nervous glances. She didn't check her phone. Didn't text me. Didn't even look back. They pulled out. I stayed behind, keeping my distance. We drove for 20, maybe 25 minutes before they turned off into a little motel near the county line. They parked on the far end, under the shade of a sad-looking tree. He got out first. She followed. They didn't rush, didn't look guilty. They walked side by side, talking casually, laughing at something he said. Then they disappeared inside the lobby. I parked across the lot, behind an old landscaping truck. From my angle, I had a full view of the entrance. Time passed slowly. At first, I counted minutes. Then I gave up and just stared. The motel was quiet. A few comings and goings, nothing unusual. But not Camilla. Not her. She was inside with him the entire time. 5 hours turned to 6. I sat in that car with the windows cracked, letting the stale summer air mix with my thoughts. The anger didn't feel hot. It was cold, steady, like a wire pulled too tight. I wasn't furious. I was hollow. I took pictures of the car, zoomed in on the license plate, made notes, recorded the time. I even took a short video clip of the lobby clock through the window, just to mark how long she'd been inside. At 5:43 p.m., the lobby door opened. She came out first. Her hair was messy, not wild, but not how she left the house. She adjusted her dress, pulled the straps higher. Her makeup was a little faded around the edges. She had that dazed, drifting look in her eyes like someone waking up from a long nap in the wrong room. Then he followed. He stretched his arms behind his head, smiled, and tossed something in the trash bin near the door. They spoke briefly, too far for me to hear. Then, without looking around, he leaned in and kissed her, right there in the parking lot. She let him, put her hand on his chest. I raised my phone again, took a video. Silent, steady, hands like stone. They got into the car. He drove her back to the parking lot, where she got into her car and drove home. I didn't follow her. Not that day. I just sat there in the truck, phone in one hand, keys in the other, thinking about how strange it is that you can share a bed with someone for years and still never really know what's going on in their heart. She came home later than usual that night. Said the girls had made dinner and played board games. Said she was tired from laughing too much. I smiled and nodded, and saved the videos to a hidden drive. Every clip, every still. I didn't say a word. Not yet, but I had seen enough. The next morning, I woke up before the sun and made coffee like usual. I didn't wait long. As soon as 8 a.m. hit, I dialed my lawyer, Vanessa. Vanessa is the kind of woman who doesn't waste time with pleasantries. I like that about her. I'd hired her once before to deal with a contractor who tried to short me on a job. She ate him alive in mediation and smiled the whole time. "Hey, Robert," she said, picking up on the second ring. "What's going on? I need to talk to you. Today." I didn't need to say anything more. She heard it in my voice. By 10:30, I was in her office with a flash drive in one hand and a folder full of printed screenshots in the other. I laid it all out. Every detail, from the drone footage to Josh's park recordings to the 6-hour hotel stay and the kiss in the parking lot. Vanessa didn't flinch. She clicked through the videos in silence, her eyes sharp behind her glasses. When the last video ended, she leaned back in her chair and folded her arms. "Well," she said, "she's going to regret thinking you were some fool." We talked through the options. I told her I didn't want a confrontation. I didn't want yelling. I didn't want explanations. I wanted a clean break, no room for drama. I wanted to be gone before she even realized the ground had shifted. We got started that day. Now, here's what most folks didn't know. The house Camilla and I lived in wasn't hers, not even half. It had belonged to my parents, and I inherited it after my dad passed. No mortgage. No co-signers. I paid the taxes. Her name wasn't on a single document. I never added her because we'd talked about moving somewhere bigger one day. It just never happened. Still, she walked around calling it our house, decorating it like a Pinterest board, filling every corner with throw pillows and scented candles. I let her. It made her feel in control. But that house was mine, and now it was my exit ticket. That same afternoon, I started sorting through everything while she was at work. Then I listed the house. Quietly. No open house. No yard sign. Just a whisper in the right ear. I called up a local investor I knew, a guy who flips properties fast. Showed him the place under the guise of just exploring options. He toured it 2 days later, made me an offer the same afternoon. It wasn't top dollar, but it was clean and fast. I took a small deposit, shook his hand, and told him I'd hand over the keys in 2 weeks. That gave me time to finish what I needed. She didn't see anything coming. Every day after she left for work, I packed, sold, and planned. Every night, I smiled like a man with nothing on his mind. And every time she called at our house, I felt something twist in my chest, but not from sadness. It was the satisfaction of knowing it wouldn't be hers much longer. Camilla's birthday was coming up fast. I had circled the date on the calendar like I always did, but this year it meant something different. Not celebration, closure. By that point, I had almost everything in place. The legal work was underway. The house sale was moving along quietly. I had even closed out a few small business matters at the shop. Everything I needed to leave behind was fading in the rear view. All I needed now was to get her out of the house, far away and completely unaware. So I gave her what she wanted most, attention and a fantasy. Camilla had been talking about travel ever since the winter. She'd leave magazines open on the kitchen counter, pages dog-eared with beaches and tropical drinks. Sometimes she'd scroll through vacation sites on her phone and sigh dramatically. One day, she'd say, "Never really to me, just out into the air." Well, her day had come. For days before her birthday, I surprised her with a printed itinerary, 10 days at a beach resort in Thailand. Oceanfront, all-inclusive, spa treatments, the works. I had booked it under her maiden name, using my own frequent flyer points and a travel agent who didn't ask questions. The kind of trip people post online like it's proof their life is perfect. She opened the envelope in the kitchen and let out a squeal like a little girl on Christmas morning. "No way," she said, her hands flying up to her face. "Robert, oh my God, baby, you're the best." She threw her arms around me and kissed me hard. Not the usual half-hearted peck. Not the distracted, closed-lipped ones she'd gotten used to giving. This one was big, dramatic, movie scene type stuff. I smiled and held her close. I wanted her to go. I needed her to go. The next few days, she was floating. Every time she walked into a room, she was humming something or chattering about what outfits to bring. She even dragged out a suitcase from the closet that I hadn't seen in over a year. Tried on swimwear. Ordered new sunglasses online. Posted vague stories about birthday adventures loading. She didn't know how close she really was to a whole new chapter, just not the one she imagined. 2 days before her flight, I even took her out to dinner. A nice place. We toasted to her birthday. To her trip. To us, she said. I clinked my glass and smiled. The night before her departure, she was a whirlwind. Packing, triple-checking the tickets, making sure her chargers and toiletries were in place. I stayed out of her way and let her buzz around the house. She asked me to take her to the airport in the morning, and I agreed. Of course I did. I wasn't about to raise suspicion now. That morning, I loaded her bags in the truck and drove her to the airport, just like any supportive husband would. The sunrise was still low over the highway, and we didn't talk much during the drive. She played with her phone the whole time, texting someone, laughing quietly at something on the screen. I didn't ask who. Didn't care. I just kept my hands on the wheel and my eyes on the road. At the terminal drop-off, she gave me a quick kiss and one last thank you. "I can't believe you pulled this off," she said. "I seriously don't deserve you." That was the first honest thing she'd said in a long time. I watched her walk into the building, dragging her pink suitcase behind her, her long hair swinging like she was on the set of some travel commercial. When the glass doors closed behind her, I sat there for a minute and took a deep breath. She was gone. Finally gone. Her flight was on time. I tracked it on my phone until it left U.S. airspace. That was the moment it all became real. I was free to move without her eyes on me. Free to finish what I had started. On the outside, she was off to celebrate her birthday in paradise, drinking cocktails by the beach, probably already planning how to make her little vacation stories sound cuter than they really were. She had no clue what was waiting for her when she came back. No clue what she had lost. No idea the life she thought she controlled was already gone. She thought it was a gift. And in a way it was. Just not the one she expected. The moment her flight cleared U.S. airspace, I went to work. I'd planned everything down to the minute. I wasn't going to waste time or give myself a chance to hesitate. I had 10 full days to disappear, and I only needed one. First, I drove straight home. I stepped inside and got to work. I didn't toss things around. I didn't trash the place. No rage, no smashing. Just cold, methodical movement. I packed only what I needed: tools, paperwork, clothes, photo albums, some old things from my dad's drawer in the garage, my watch collection, the drone gear, of course. Everything else got divided: trash, donation, or indifference. The couch went out to the front curb with a free sign taped on top. The dishes she never used but insisted we keep, packed in boxes and donated. Her makeup clutter, spa kits, and that ridiculous ring light in the bathroom, left right where they sat. Let her figure that part out. I loaded my things into the rental truck I'd hidden 2 blocks down. I didn't take everything. We didn't own much that really mattered to me anyway, but I took enough to start over. Then came the digital part. I pulled out the folder of account numbers and passwords I'd been quietly building for weeks. First, I changed my phone number. A clean break. No forwarding, no auto-reply, just gone. Then I logged into the joint checking and savings accounts, transferred the funds to my private account, and closed both. The car she drove every day, leased in my name, registered under my business, got canceled with a few clicks. I called the dealership and told them I'd no longer be responsible for it. They said they'd come tow it from the lot when she got back. I smiled and thanked them. I also closed the store. The drone shop was mine and had been doing fine, but it was tied to this town, to this life. I didn't want to be recognized, questioned, or reminded of any of this. Sold off what I didn't need and quietly shut the doors. I left a sign that said, "Closed for renovation," just to avoid attention until the lease expired. Back at the house, I prepared one last thing. An envelope. A thick one. I taped it right to the fridge door, front and center. Inside it, I placed everything she needed to see and nothing she wanted to. First, a printed photograph of her and her friend, if you could call him that, locked in an embrace outside the hotel. Nothing blurry. Crystal clear. Caught from the side, mid-kiss, both of their faces visible. No denying it. Next, a USB drive. On it, all the footage from the drone, the park, the gas station, the hotel. Labeled, dated, organized. Every clip of her smiling at him, brushing his arm, holding his hand, walking beside him like they belonged to each other. Then came the paperwork. Divorce papers, prepared by Vanessa, signed by me. Everything filed, ready to go. All she had to do was show up in court and watch it happen. Last, I included a handwritten note. Simple, clean. No curse words, no threats, no drama. It read, "To the new owners, please give this envelope to the woman who shows up and insists she lives here. She will most likely be very upset. Thank you for your patience." I signed it with my first name only. I left the envelope taped tight to the fridge door. Then I grabbed the house keys, my last copy, and drove to the realtor's office across town. I handed them over without a word. He nodded, slid them into a drawer, and confirmed the buyer would be moving in 3 days. With that, it was done. I drove through the night. I didn't look back. I didn't check my phone. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't even feel free, not yet. Mostly, I just felt quiet. It was strange, after everything, how calm it felt to just disappear. No shouting, no fights, no drawn-out drama. Just silence and action. That house, that town, that version of me, it all stayed behind. And Camilla? She was thousands of miles away, sipping fruit cocktails and posting filtered pictures of sunsets, thinking she'd fooled the man who gave her everything. She didn't know I'd already left the story. She didn't even know the chapter was over. 2 months passed. I had started building a quiet life in another state by then. Got myself a small apartment above a bakery, unpacked the essentials, and stayed busy reopening the shop under a new name. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I kept my head down, worked long hours, and tried not to think about what Camilla might slash. But I knew the court date was coming. The paperwork had gone through. My lawyer, Vanessa, handled most of the communication with the court and made sure everything was filed clean and fast. I didn't check in often. I didn't ask for updates. I just waited for the summons and kept living my new life. Then, one morning, the date arrived in the mail. Plain white envelope. No fanfare. I opened it at my kitchen table with a cup of black coffee and stared at the details for a long while. Family court. Tuesday, 10 a.m. Back in the town I left behind. I drove in the night before and stayed in a cheap motel on the outskirts. That morning, I put on a gray suit I hadn't worn in years. Tied the same tie I wore at our wedding. Not for her, just for the poetry of it. I arrived 15 minutes early and sat quietly in the hallway outside the courtroom. At 9:58, I heard the click of heels. I looked up, and there she was. Camilla walked in wearing a black dress that reached just below her knees. She had a small handbag tucked under one arm, and her hair pulled back in a tight bun. No makeup, or at least not much. Her eyes were puffy, like she'd been crying all morning, or maybe all week. She saw me, and for the first time in what felt like years, she didn't speak. She sat across from me and stared down at her hands, rubbing her thumb over her wedding ring. A court officer called our names, and we followed him inside. The room was quiet, plain. No jury, just a judge at a bench, a clerk, a bailiff. Vanessa was already there, standing confidently by the table. Camilla sat on the other side with her own lawyer, someone I'd never seen before. Some big city type with slicked back hair and a folder full of empty arguments. We stood, sat, and went through the motions. Vanessa laid everything out. The property was mine, legally inherited. No shared assets. No children. Clear grounds for divorce backed by documentation, including video and photographic evidence of infidelity. It was all clean, precise, professional. Then the judge turned to Camilla. She stood slowly, clutching a tissue in one hand. Her voice shook when she spoke. "I made a mistake," she said. "It wasn't serious. I didn't think." Her lawyer touched her arm, tried to get her to stop, but she kept going. "I was stupid. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I thought he didn't love me anymore. I thought we were growing apart. I don't know." The courtroom was dead silent except for her voice and the soft sniffles between her words. Then she turned to look at me, eyes red, shoulders slumped. "Can we talk after this? Just to talk, please?" I didn't look at Vanessa, didn't glance at the judge. I just stared at Camilla and said exactly what I came there to say. "You made your choice." That was it. Nothing more. The judge signed the order, stamped the documents, declared the marriage dissolved, effective immediately. The whole thing took less than an hour. Camilla sat back down, crying quietly. Her lawyer whispered something, but she didn't react. She just stared at the table like it could give her the answers she'd never looked for in me. When we walked out of the courtroom, she tried one last time. Said my name softly as I passed. I didn't stop. I didn't need to. There was nothing left to say. Outside the courthouse, the sky was gray and heavy. It felt right, in a way, like the weather understood the weight of the moment. I loosened my tie, got into my truck, and drove off without looking in the rearview mirror. The drive back was long and quiet, but I didn't feel hollow. I felt done. Free even. It wasn't joy, and it wasn't pride. Just a deep, steady calm. Like walking out of a burning building and knowing you'll never go back inside. Camilla thought her tears might fix something. That the damage was temporary. That apologies could undo what she had shattered. But some choices can't be taken back. And some men, when they leave, don't leave breadcrumbs. A year passed. Time has a way of smoothing out sharp edges, but it doesn't erase them. It just teaches you how to stop running your hands across them. I'd built a new life by then. Got a small place on the edge of town, nothing fancy but clean and quiet. I had reopened my drone shop under a new name. New logo. New everything. It was in a better spot this time, closer to the local college, so I had a mix of hobbyists and tech kids coming through. Sales were strong. Word of mouth picked up. I didn't even have to advertise that much. Just showed up every day. Honest work, fair prices, and steady hands. Funny how peace can be so loud when you've lived in chaos. For fun, and maybe because I had something to prove to myself, I opened a second location back in my old state. Not in the exact same town, but close enough to know the roads, recognize some faces. I kept it small and clean. Just a few employees. Nothing complicated. One day I had to head back to check on inventory, do some vendor meetings. I wasn't planning to linger. My plan was to be in and out. But after the last meeting, I had a couple hours to kill before, and the weather was that perfect mix of cool breeze and warm sun. So I took a detour. I parked a block away and walked the long way around to the park. I don't even know why. Nostalgia, I guess. Curiosity. Closure. Maybe some part of me wanted to stand in that place again and feel nothing. And then I saw her. Still at the same ice cream stand. Same job. Different apron. Her hair was pulled back into a loose ponytail. No makeup, No sunglasses. No sparkle in her eyes like she used to fake for her Instagram stories. She was leaning on the counter, face slack, eyes on her phone. She didn't see me right away. I stopped under a tree across the walking path and just watched. Not out of longing. Not out of pain. More like watching an old movie you already know the ending to. Familiar, but no longer part of your story. She looked tired. Not the kind of tired from work, but soul tired. The kind that sits behind the eyes and weighs a person down. A kid came up to the counter. She gave him a small cone, forced a smile, and turned away before his mom could even say thank you. Then she looked up. Our eyes met. She froze. I saw her blink, like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Like maybe I was a ghost. Her mouth moved, but nothing came out at first. Then, barely above a whisper, she said my name. I continued walking forward. But something in me paused. Maybe it was the years we shared. Maybe it was the bitterness I'd carried like a stone in my pocket. I don't know. I stopped a few feet past her stand, turned back around, and looked her right in the eyes. She was still frozen, still clutching that scoop, halfway between two tubs of ice cream. And I said it. Funny, you used to be a better liar. Her mouth opened a little, like she wanted to say something. Maybe explain. Maybe beg. But I didn't wait. I turned and walked away, each step lighter than the one before. I didn't glance back. There was no anger in me. No sadness. Just clarity. She was still beautiful, I guess. But beauty without loyalty? That's like paint on rotten wood. It might look good from far away, but it crumbles the moment you lean on it. She thought she was playing a game. Thought she had the upper hand. Thought I'd always be the one chasing, doubting, forgiving. But I rewrote the rules. Quietly. Methodically. She never saw it coming. And in the end, she got exactly what she chose, a life without me. I don't know if she's happy now. Don't care. I walked through the rest of the park. Sat on one of the benches where Josh used to sit with his iced tea, phone in hand. The trees had changed a little. The benches had been repainted. But it was still the same place. Still a place where truth got revealed. The new shop was humming along, a steady rhythm of customers and drone repairs keeping me grounded in my new life. I'd settled into the apartment above the bakery, the smell of fresh bread seeping through the floorboards each morning. It was simple, quiet, and mine. But peace, I was learning, is a fragile thing. It started with a text from an unknown number, 3 weeks after I'd seen Camilla at the park. The message was blunt, $50,000 by next Friday, or you'll regret it. Instructions to follow. No name, no context, just a cold demand. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Was this Camilla, desperate and cornered, trying to claw back something from the life she'd lost? Or a competitor, sniffing out my success in a new town and wanting to bleed me dry? I didn't know, but I wasn't playing their game. I deleted the message and went back to work. 2 days later, another came. You think you can ignore this? $75,000 now. Or we come for you. Attached was a photo of me, taken from across the street, walking out of my new shop. My jaw tightened, but I didn't flinch. I wasn't some mark to be shaken down. I blocked the number and kept my eyes open, scanning the faces in the shop, the cars parked too long outside. Nothing stood out. Yet. Then, 5 nights ago, I got a call from an old neighbor in the town I'd left behind. The old drone shop, the one I'd closed a year ago, was gone. Burned to the ground. A fire so hot it left nothing but blackened beams and melted glass. The fire department called it arson, but they had no leads. I drove back that same night, stood in front of the ruins, and smelled the ash in the air. My hands didn't shake. My mind didn't race. I just took it in, then called the police. I met with a detective the next morning, a grizzled guy named Hargrove who chewed gum like it owed him money. I showed him the threatening texts, the photo, the timeline. I didn't mention Camilla, not yet. But I gave him everything else. The shop's old security footage, which showed a shadowy figure tossing a Molotov through the window, and the dates of the ransom demands. He scribbled notes, promised to look into it, but warned me these cases often went cold without more to go on. I nodded, thanked him, and left with a knot in my gut. Back in my new town, I got a call from Josh, my shop manager, his voice tight. Robert, you need to see this. He sent me a video from the X-12 drone he'd been testing in the old park. It showed Camilla at her ice cream stand. Same tired posture, same forced smile. But in the background, a man lingered, mid-20s, hoodie low, Always at a distance, but always there. He wasn't the guy from the motel. This was someone new, watching her, following her when she left her shift, keeping just out of sight. Josh had caught him 3 days in a row, same pattern, same shadowed face. That night, another text came from a different number, $100,000. Last chance. Or you're next. No photo this time, just the words, sharp and final. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to Hargrove and powered up the X-12 drone myself, syncing it to my laptop. If someone was tailing Camilla, threatening me, burning my past to the ground, I wasn't going to sit and wait for their next move. Was it Camilla, orchestrating this from the ashes of our marriage, bitter enough to extort me? She'd lost everything. Maybe this was her way of taking it back. Or was it a competitor, someone who'd seen my new shop thrive and wanted to scare me out of the market? I thought of the guy in the park, his face hidden, his purpose unclear. Was he their muscle, their eyes, or something else entirely? I loaded the drone into my truck and headed for the old town. The police were digging, but I wasn't holding my breath. The messages kept coming, the threats growing sharper, and Camilla was being watched. Someone was pulling strings, and I was going to find out who, even if it meant stepping back into the life I'd burned to escape.